The Maroon White Pod brought to you by CityLink. For bookings, timetables, updates and any other information, head to citylink.ie. Hurling Championship is now back and the Senior B and Intermediate takes centre stage this week. We're going to have a special episode where we're going to preview all the matches this weekend, and I got the honour this year of getting the power rankings, so I've ranked all the clubs from Senior B and Intermediate, so I'm sure there's going to be some clubs not happy about that, but we'll reveal them as the episode does go on. And I'm joined now by Kevin, Brady and Fergal Healy. Kevin, what were you like now when Championship was 3 days away?
Just looking forward to it. You never really knew where you stood, Shocks. Healy know this himself. Like you play all the challenge matches and the league meant nothing in hurling, really, just a bit of preparation. You couldn't be promoted or demoted from it. So it was a real it was a week, I suppose, of anticipation. You know, you'd have every manager from every club would have their own preparation, and you'd have your captains on a Thursday night in their speech, and like we were no different in Cashel or even in Ceylon or wherever. But you never really knew until you got out in the field. But after 5 minutes, you knew whether you were fit enough. You know, you'd have all the fitness work done, and if you were blown after 5 minutes, you were in trouble. And it happened to me once or twice, but it's not a nice place to be if you're not prepared. You know.
Did you enjoy the build-up, Fergal, or when you're playing senior with Crofwell, or is it a bit of unknown for the kind of clubs this weekend because you go playing these challenge matches, maybe they're playing teams from other counties and they don't exactly know where the team is at that they're going to be playing either?
No, definitely. And I suppose, the league in Galway starts a little bit early, really, as well. And then that finishes, and then there's a gap for a couple of months. So I think like clubs kind of go, I won't say go back hard for the league, but they will go back and kind of, treat it, I suppose, relatively seriously and have a go at it. And then they tend to take a break. So the teams that may have been going well and at that stage, they might take a break for a week or two, and then they kind of have to ramp it up again. And then you're kind of dependent on challenge games, but it can be a bit of a lottery at the best of times, as Kevin alluded to there. You don't really know until you go out and play the first game, and while most teams will have a lot of good work done, it's how they react and get through that first game. And I suppose there's always huge emphasis put on that, like, because it's always nice to get that good start and get up and running, and especially when you've only the groups of four now, you get your 3 games, so you kind of have to hit the ground running, don't you?
Do you think this is the perfect system we have now, Fergal?
Yeah, it's not bad. I think, like, in fairness, it's 16 teams is definitely more than enough to have in Senior A. So yeah, it's probably the best way. Like you get 3 opportunities, and after that, it's if you're good enough to qualify after that, sure, you are, like. So yeah, I think it's probably not a bad system. I think it's sound.
The probably one tweak they could have made with this, Brady, is probably you could have had maybe the 2 winners playing each other after in round 2 and the 2 losers playing each other, just maybe to, I suppose, maybe just avoid these dead rubbers that might occur in the final round, but I suppose we're hoping it won't happen.
Yeah, but listen, Fergal hit the nail on the head there. Like 16 is enough, and nearly even too much senior teams. But like there's nothing you can really do about the dead rubber, Chucks. It's they sort of play their own way. You have a group of 4. If you win 2, you're hoping to get a result from someone else to qualify. But the key really is to get an early start. If you get an early start, get a win. Momentum was up for the 3rd week, because there was a break for football in between that. And, if you can get your 2nd win, you're nearly facing top in the group. That's where every team wants to be after the 1st week. But unfortunately, you can't be. So you're looking over your shoulder then. It's a must win, really, then for your 2nd one. So, as coming to the dead rubbers, like you spoke about, Shocks, that's just the way it is at times. And, it's just the way it's going to be for the next few years, and unless they change the round robin championship.
With 3 teams as well coming out, it does.
Yeah.
You are like you finish bottom of the group, you can't really have much
exactly. But it's not even like championship Fergal, like, is it? Like, you get so many chances now. Like, I know every team should get 2 chances, but when you're given 3 and 4 chances in the championship, like, I know you'll have no complaints, but does it even feel like a championship?
Well, I suppose when we were playing, when we were starting out playing anyway, like you played a couple of games in April and you didn't play for maybe possibly 3-4 months, like so.
Yeah,
That time, I suppose I think it's probably not too bad. I think they probably need to get a few games at least. You need to come away. Worst case scenario, get 4 matches. I think that's probably what
definitely. Yeah,
4, maybe 5 matches if you were to be relegated. 4 matches if you were to finish fourth and maybe end up in a relegation semi-final or something like. But
would you
I,
think? Would you think there should be more emphasis put in the league than Fergal? Just for keeping lads in hurling, because if there's a structure put in place that you can be promoted, demoted, like in the football, it's keeping everyone on their toes, and you might get a better run into championship.
yeah, I think there should be some reward from the league, or you should be able to. There should be some sort of. It should lead into the championship, and just to give it a little bit more of an incentive. As well as that, I think the league shouldn't be ran as early as it is being ran,
Yeah,
because it forces clubs back earlier, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and then
yeah. It's nearly like it's ran for the sake of it.
it finishes early, and then you have clubs going around looking for challenge matches for 2 or 3 months. Like, so, I don't understand the logic behind any of that. Like, I don't think there's any need for any club team to be on a pitch before Paddy's Day at this stage. Like, but
Yeah.
if you're playing a league match the first week in April, you're forced to go back that bit earlier.
Are you able to see the power rankings here? You obviously can't see the power rankings there, but just in first, second, third, and fourth, Thomas is first, Turlockmore second, Cambridge third, and then in fourth place, Sarsfields. Is that fair enough, Fergal?
Yeah, it probably is. Probably Loughrea probably would have maybe something to say about that as well. They've been probably the team knocking on the door that probably be a bit disappointed they haven't got over the line. I think at this stage, with the level of players and the amount of players they have, and they've a really strong management there that have a good few years behind them as well. So I would expect them to be up there with the likes of your Turlock and Clarenbridge and Sarsfields trying to get over St. Thomas's. Yeah.
It's then fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, Brady. I have Loughrea in fifth, but it's probably due to the injuries Loughrea have at the minute. Dylan Shaughnessy gone to Australia, Jamie Ryan out injured, Martin McManus out injured. When you consider all those, it's they obviously have the depth there, but it's still hard to see how they can cope without the losses of some of those players.
Yeah, well, listen, if Thomas weren't as good as they were, you'd have to have fancied Loughrea to have a county title in their belt at this stage. I was at a good few of the games last year, and when I seen the day Turlock overturned them, and I actually fancied Turlock that day, and a lot of people fancied Loughrea, but Jamie Ryan, I think he hurt himself on the Friday night or on the Thursday night in train, and he was a huge blow to them. And like, missing them lads so early on in the year already, so they're on the back foot. You can't really. Yeah, they're up there now. The rankings, Shocks. You've More there in sixth and Castlegar in seventh. And Castlegar playing More. I'm sure you'll get into that in a few minutes. And Crowell, your own club, Fergal. I'd have Guard maybe up a bit even higher than that. But coming back to Loughrea, Shocks. They're a team that, like I said, only for St. Thomas's, I feel they would have won a county title with the last 2 years.
Well, you could see that now, Fergal. Is there anything that you disagree with?
I think maybe Tommy Larkins could be a bit higher up as well. Like, they're a good senior team consistently there for a long time, and I suppose if they can stay injury free, they'd have a strong spine of players there that are operating at a high level. Like, they'd always be a tough enough team for anyone to come across.
Just beneath that, when I said, well, yeah, it's 16, Brady, you tend to disagree with that?
I do, yeah. Seen them in 2 of their games last year, no Shocks. It was, they Humdinger, they were the Hasker 4. It was a Hasker 4, it was, yeah. in Ballinasloe, you know, and they played some really, really nice hurling. Now, I know they have a few of the elder lads still playing, but they have a great system of youth coming through. New management coming in. It'll be interesting to see. They're on a high up there at the moment. There's a lot of good work being done up there. I would have them ahead of my Cullen, no disrespect. I'd have them up in the level they were there, Drahan, to be quite honest with you. You know, I'd have Gart up as well. I'd have Crowell up another one. I wouldn't have Orden Moore in 6. That's my own personal thing. But we're there. We're only giving our opinion.
Yeah, it's obviously something that's going to change as the championship goes on. It'll change each week. It's probably one of those these things where everyone will have a different opinion on. But overall, have I done an okay job there, Fergal, or is there?
Yeah, look at it all. Sure, who knows? Like, I mean, you can only go on you know, I suppose what you're hearing about different clubs at the moment and what's going to line up, and of course injuries will play their role as you kind of discussed there about in relation to Loughrea. But yeah, I'm sure look at Mulja. It's a little bit might be depend on the Cathal Dervins and Kevin Briscoes and these lads if they'll stay going at senior. I know Cathal is shooting the lights out down at Junior B at the moment with the second team. So I'm sure they'll be pushing for him to maybe step up. Look at you have Conor Dolphin there. He's a super young hurler. He's had I suppose he's been hampered a bit with injury there for the last year or so. But hopefully he'll come through it okay. Like Adam Rock is another young lad that'll probably come into the reckoning for them this year. And they have a couple of cones there as well that are good hurlers. So they won't be an easy game for anybody. And I suppose they'll be confident of taking a couple of scalps, I'm sure.
If we're to get in to the action here, lads, it's in Group 1 on Friday night, 6:30, Cappy and Kilkiniron in Duggan Park. There's always been expectation with Cappy, but maybe this year, Brady, it's probably lowered a bit because they've got knocked out at the quarter-final last year. But this is probably one Cappy will be targeting, but at the same time, Kilkiniron do have young talent coming up at the same time, and they'll fancy a crack off Cappy as well.
Yeah, Kilkiniron were always nice hurlers, but Cappy are hardened. They're hardened. They were a team who never played a lot against them in championship, but the few times, maybe the 2 or 3 times we did, were tough. They were physically very. Even last year, I expected them to get further in the quarter final. They were unlucky. They were poor on the day when they were knocked out, but they were always very, very well drilled. And I think that brings them to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals like they have, our semi-finals over the last few years because they're so fit and they're so well coached. They just are lacking maybe 1 or 2 more forwards. But Kilkiniron, good game for them coming into it. They'll be eyeing them up and vice versa on both sides,
The thing with Cappy is, Fergal, I suppose the big thing that's been highlighted, having the 2 Collinses away from the summer. No one really knows where they're at with not having those 2 players during the summer.
Yeah, there was 2 Collinses. I think Dave Malone was away as well, and young Bo as well. So yeah, they had a few lads away, but look at it. Again, they're all going to fall into a few different places. But I suppose that lads in America has been a challenge for most clubs. Like, so it's just something you just have to adapt and get on with it. Like, they would have all been playing out in America as well. Like, so yeah, they're really good players. And like, if the likes of Liam Collins can, start, I suppose, fulfilling that potential that he has. And I suppose most people were probably surprised a little bit that he didn't feature for Galway at some stage this year. But I think he's had kind of ongoing injuries as well. But he's a guy that I suppose from a Galway point of view, we definitely need Liam Collins and having a really good championship and pushing on and start becoming the forward that he potentially can be. And of course, Niall is a fine hurler as well. They have some good hurlers around the field, and they're always a tough team. They're a very committed team. They work really hard. And Gleaming Donoghue is with them this year. So yeah, look at they're always a team that are knocking around the quarterfinal stage, and if you can get to that point, anything could happen.
With this Kilkenny team as well, Fergal, they really are going for youth this year. From what we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I think they beat Portumna, didn't they, in the relegation game last year? So I suppose for them, for these, I suppose first few years they're back up in senior A. It's about trying to establish yourself and stay in the senior A as long as you can until they start, pulling a few of these younger lads through. So yeah, look at they're a nice team. Like they've a lot of young lads around the place, and they're probably going to just keep adding young lads at the moment. Yeah, I think the likes of Oscar O'Gorman will probably step into that team this year. He's a fine player, and again for them this year, I'm sure they'll be targeting. Can they get to the knockout stages? I think they had 5 or 6 guys on the Galway minors this year that will be pushing on over the next 2 years as well. So they have a lot of good young players that are playing at a high standard. So they're definitely a team that need to stay in the senior A and keep progressing.
Who do you see coming out on top here, Brady, at the weekend between Capitale and Kilkenny?
I'd expect Cappy to come out. They need a good start, because if they get a bad start, I think it's going to put them, being, as you said earlier on, being knocked out in the quarterfinals last year. They were expecting to get further than that. So they have a point to prove. Fergal said it there, but Kilkenny, they have a good few minors coming through, a big step up. But then again, if you get a young minor, when we were playing, you had no fear, off you go. I think the weather's promised fairly good the weekend as well. So it'll probably suit Kilkenny to a degree, but at the end of the day, I'd fancy Cappy to come out there, 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, that's probably it, Fergal, is it? Is it just Cappy or further, maybe just further down the line here than this Kilkenny team?
Yeah, I think you'd have to fancy Capitagal, but look at the same time, them first games are always tricky games, and no team really has much form going into it or any form. So, like Kilkenny would definitely be champing at the bit. Like I don't think Capitagal's. I know they're. I suppose they're pre-season as such. I don't think they've been setting the world alight, and they've struggled in a few games, primarily down to just a lack of bodies at times. So yeah, it could be a tricky game. So it wouldn't surprise me. I would expect Capitagal to win, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Kilkenny get over the line either.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you there. I think Capitagal will just have enough to see that one out. At the same time, on Friday evening, Mulla, um, who are just obviously up from Senior B, take on last year's runners-up in the county final, Turlough. I get the sense when you're talking about Mulla there, Brady, not that you expect them to beat Turlough this weekend, but you expect them to have a crack off them.
I do, yeah. I don't think they'll beat Turlough. I genuinely don't. Like, I was talking to Darren Shaughnessy yesterday, my own cousin, and he said, "Don't be putting us up in the power rankings, and don't be tipping us for the county final." I said, "Don't worry," I said, "you won't be winning the county title." I was slagging him. But, yeah, listen, I don't think Mulla will fear Turlough whatsoever. I think Turlough have a point to prove this year. I also think Mulla have a point to prove coming up. If we can take a scalp or get close to the county finalists last year, we're going to put the fear of God into most clubs around. I don't think Mulla have anything to lose. A Friday evening game, enjoy your weekend after it. That's the reality of it. Summer hurling first round, you just don't know what Turlough is going to show up. For me this year, they need some of their younger guys coming through. They're just missing one or two forwards for me, Turlough, for coming to the later end of the year. Young Trayers, they need him. They need Killian Trayers. He's gone back footballing, I think, and I'd love to see him actually go stay away from the football and stick with the hurling, because he's county class. I think we need him at senior county coming in the next year, 2 years. He's a big, strong guy. He's a brain. He's mean. And not just him, but they've other guys coming as well. But I'd expect Turlough to win it. Maybe 5 or 6 points, but I wouldn't be one bit surprised if Mulla pushed them all the way to the line here.
David Morris, Fergal, has been added to the Turlough backroom team this year, which is one of the, I suppose, significant additions to a backroom team. And when we've all known what he's did with Kerr Finn, but he's worked with the Galway senior hurlers as well in the last few years.
Yeah, like I suppose Turlock aren't 100 miles off it, like so. I suppose getting someone like that on board, yeah, maybe that'll be what gets them over the line. I suppose if you're looking at Turlock, it's always what you're looking at, what they have up front, like and can they consistently get enough scores? Like they always produce loads of hurlers, like loads of players all around the place. But I suppose they just need probably a little bit more consistency up front from whoever they have up there. They've like Killian Whelan would have played in the forwards for them last year. Matthew Tarpey would have played corner forward. Neither of those are natural forwards, like so. In Turlock, as long as I've known them, they've always been kind of pushing lads up there that mightn't be as comfortable up there, but they always seem to have loads of cover for their backs and their middle third, like so. Then look at they'll always be a tough, formidable team for anyone to play against. Yeah, I think Killian Trayer's super player if he can stay injury free. The thing is, the problem is with Killian as well. Like he got a nasty shoulder injury last year. I don't know, was it in one of the earlier rounds for Turlock, or was it in their training? But they did miss him as the season progressed, like because he could easily jump into centre back there or midfield. He can play one of them central roles for them. So players like that don't grow on trees. You're interesting to see, can they get a good full season out of Sean Loftus again now? Like, and
Is he the forward? Is he a man who goes into the forwards now?
he's another player, I suppose similar, like, from even with Matthew Tarpey, when we had him with the 20s, initially he's played corner back, he's played corner forward, but midfield is probably his best place. But you can't play everybody in the middle of the field either. Sorry?
You think Tarpey's best position is centre field, yeah?
He's that's his preferred position as well, but it's the best position we found for him as well. Like Sean Loftus, he's probably best midfielder as well, but you have to start
Yeah.
pushing up the field. But at the same time, if you Sean Loftus, if you have Conor Walsh, and a few lads like that up there, your man Phelan, that guy they got from
Watford. Yeah.
he was a handful. He was a handful for most of the season until he kind of came up against Finton that day. So they have good hurlers, like, and they've like if they have to play the likes of Matthew Tarpey corner forward, he'll still do a good job for you, but he wouldn't be an out and out corner forward. That's the only thing there. Look at Trayers could do a job wing forward as well, but it kind of goes back to what I was saying there. You're pulling a lot of players that they have so many players there that operate in that middle third area. And can they convert one or two of them, or can they find one or two more guys that can help with the scoring side of it?
Is this not a challenge though for Mulla, Brady, to be coming from Senior B straight up to play in last year's county finalists?
Oh, absolutely. But Turlock haven't won a county title in God knows how long, so they'll be kicking themselves as well. They were so close, but yet they could have won the county title last year, to be quite honest, if a few things went their way. Um, I'd love to be in a Mulla dressing room next Friday evening going out, having a cut at Turlock. Mulla have nothing to lose now, absolutely nothing. They're guaranteed four games. They've won their Senior B. Turlock have a lot to prove. We spoke about it earlier, so I wouldn't be one bit surprised, like if it goes down to the wire. But you just listen, when it comes down to the last 10 minutes, you just have to expect, Turlock will push on.
You mentioned it earlier, Fergal, Cathal Dervin and Kevin Briscoe were the story of the championship last year, but there's probably a bit of uncertainty whether they're going to play senior this year.
Yeah, and like it's trying to replace, players like that, like who have been like huge, I suppose stalwarts for Mulla for probably 20 years or so there now at senior level. So yeah, like it's they have some good young fellas coming through. To be fair to Mulla, they've got their house in order, and they've joined obviously with Kiltormer there at underage, and they are beginning to compete now more at the higher grades in the underage, and then obviously as a result of that you're going to get more players ready to step into your senior team. So they're doing a lot right. Tony Ward, he's a very experienced manager there, and so yeah, look at like Kevin said, I think they have no fear. You'd have to fancy and expect Turlock more to win it by probably 5 or 6 or 7 points, but again, similar to the first game, them first games they're so dangerous. Like, as I said, they're the games you go into probably most, I suppose, anxious about. And if you don't have the work done, there's going to be nervousness there for some teams. Obviously, we don't know, those teams only know that themselves. But yeah, look at Mulla have nothing to lose, and if you are Mulla, you'd love these are the time to play the likes of Turlock more. And coming up from Senior B, what better game for them to start off their Senior A championship, but then having a crack at the second best team in the county from last year. So yeah, look, it's a lovely game for Mulla to be looking forward to, and hopefully it'll be a really good, tight, competitive match.
Yeah, similar to Fergal there, I just think Turlock might just have too much in the end, but I expect Mulla to put up a big fight. I'm guessing, Brady, you expect Turlock just to squeeze past Mulla?
Yeah, I'd expect Turlock to win that. 5-6 points could even be more, but I will be expecting Turlock.
Just in Group 1, I'm going to ask you for three teams to finish first, second, and third. This is how I see it. I see Turlock finishing first, Captagal second, and I think Kilcaniron will get third. How do you see it, Brady?
Yeah. What did you down again? Yeah, Turlock?
Turlock first, Cappy second, and Kilcaniron third, and Mulla then in fourth.
Yeah. I think Mulla could actually get third in that group. I just do. Now, it is the big question. Is Briscoe coming back and is Dervin coming back? I know he's shooting the lights out, as Healy said there in Junior B, their second team, but I was talking to Dervin a few months ago in town, and he looks in great nick and he's in great shape and he was enjoying his hurling.
You shouldn't be believing all you hear from Conor Dervin either, though. Like,
No, no, it's Carl. Talking to that Carl, not Connor. Sorry, Carl. I wouldn't believe what.
I met Conor Dervin at the races last week. I definitely wouldn't believe Anthony says.
Oh, I was talking to Carl and he enjoyed his year last year and he was debating. I don't know. I go back, I don't know. And change in management. I don't know the Hardy thing when he left, which was a strange decision, really. Why he left after bringing them up. But if he's back, if Briscoe is back and Dervin is back, and just for another year to bring a bit of leadership to the younger guys coming through, I can see them getting out of the group.
Do you see them finishing third instead of Kilcaniron?
I do, yeah, I do.
Okay.
They'd have no fear of Kilcaniron whatsoever. If they get a good run against Turlock in the first one, cannot see them winning it, but they'll definitely target a win, if not two wins in that group.
Who's first, second, and third for you, Fergal, in that group?
Yeah, I'd be toss of a coin between Kilcaniron and Mulla for third. I think that'd be a big game for both of them teams. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if Kilcaniron caused a shock against Cappy. Yeah, I'd possibly, with the younger players and stuff, and maybe a more balanced team. And, I'd be just wondering if Carl Dervin doesn't play, who do they replace the likes of him with, and the likes of Briscoe and these guys. So I'd probably be leaning towards maybe Kilcaniron to maybe edge it for third in that group.
Group 2 then, 7:15 on Friday. It's Clownbridge versus Mike Cullen in Pearse Stadium. The big talking point here, Brady, Micheál Donoghue back involved with Clownbridge. How big do you think that is this year?
Massive. It's massive for Galway as well. Is he coming back to Galway? God only, who knows. Listen, to have Micheál around the Galway club again is a big thing. Especially with his own club of the Bridge, he sees something there. There's a bit of steel coming back into the Bridge. I think it's a no-brainer. They'll win the next day. It's a tough one for Mike Cullen now to start off with. By all accounts, Bridge are going very well at the moment. They're always a nice hurling team, but you can be sure Micheál will have them drilled to death. Where they lacked the last few years, they were relying a lot on freeze with Nyland and different things. I just believe, they'll be stronger down the spine this year. Micheál will right all the wrongs, I think. Now, I know the guys still have to do it on the field, but when you have a name like Micheál Donoghue coming back into your own club, just think the guys that might have been slacking it, will up it an extra notch this year. So they could be right in the mix later on in the year.
It's huge, obviously, to have him back, but with this, Fergal, to now have Sean Murphy and Aaron Ireland available at senior level, this is what Clanbridge have been waiting for too.
Yeah, they're definitely the best. They have the strongest squad anyway, for sure. There's no argument there. Their intermediate team will probably be hoping to probably rattle or get a go a long way in that intermediate championship as well. Yeah, look at the lads. Shawnee will probably start. I'd imagine they're in full backline for him. Aaron is probably a week or two away from coming back. Like so, we probably won't see him till maybe the second or third game. But like they have a huge selection of players there at the moment. TJ Brennan would probably go into the full backline, I'd imagine. You've Dylan Dunn, you've Josh Ryan, they're all a year older as well. They're probably down. I think Ian O'Brien is away, all right. But apart from that, they've a really strong squad. Evan Ireland, Mark Kennedy, all these lads. And if you're I think after a couple of games, to throw the likes of Aaron in there as well, they'll be a fair handful for any team to deal with. Especially they'll have the forwards, they'll have the shooters. So yeah, they'll definitely fancy themselves. They won the league really, in third gear. And they, as Kevin said there, they've been going really well. So the signs are good for Clarenbridge. So yeah, they'll be expecting to go a long way.
Is the challenge for Mike Cullen, Brady, that John Hardyman did so much good work and now he's left? Can they drive it on? Because him and his management team did unbelievable work there now in Mike Cullen, but now it's nearly a bit of a new era in Mike Cullen.
Yeah, and who's stepped in the Mike Cullen job, Shocks?
Yeah, I'll just get the man. I have a list of the managers here now, so I'll just get them. But they've had the last 2 years. They've made serious progress. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%. And I was back in Mike Cullen one morning. My girlie was playing a camogie match, and their senior team were training beforehand. And I'd be good friends with Hardy, and he's probably one of the best coaches and managers I've ever played under. How he hasn't gone into being into county manager, I can't figure it out, to be honest with you, especially with Galway.
That's Queeving Davern, who's over Mike Cullen this year.
Yeah. Well, listen, like Hardy's gone back with Athenry, and he done massive work out there. But I think he brought them as far as it could go. Football is so competitive out there, and I know a lot of lads don't make the transfer over, but football is everything out there. For me, they've come as far as they can go. I don't think they'll survive too long up in senior A, and that's no disrespect to them. I really don't. I think they've used all their guns at the moment, and it's going to be, they need a win, and they need to win first, because if they're put on the back foot, Shocks, I think it could be a disaster year for them.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we all just expect Clarenbridge to have too much there in Pearse Stadium on Friday evening. As mentioned early on, Fergal, your own club Craughwell coming up against Loughrea. Are Craughwell, is this one where they think they can take a scalp now, given Loughrea are missing so many of the sharpshooters?
Should look at it. Again, it's that first game, isn't it? Yeah, Loughrea, they're down a few bodies, all right, but like Loughrea at the same time have a lot of good quality young lads as well. So you're bringing, while you might be missing the likes of Dylan Shocks, who's gone away, and McManus, who's injured. You're bringing in Cullen Killeen and Vince Morgan as well, who played with the 20s this year. So you're bringing them two guys into your team. I don't know. I think Loughrea will be strong. For Craughwell, they have a nice team there. They're kind of rebuilding to some degree, but they have a lot of young lads in it. I think they need to. I think there's probably an opportunity for them to come out of the group. I think Loughrea and Clarenbridge are probably the two strong teams there, the two teams that you'd be putting down as favourites to come out. But yeah, I think for the first game, no more than any of the other matches that we've spoken about, Crowell will be confident of giving themselves having a good crack at Loughrea, definitely.
obviously from working with Cullen and Vince, you don't see Loughrea getting any weaker with two players like that coming into the team.
No, I don't. Like, I mean, yeah, look, your man Martin McManus has been a super player for them over the last few years. So, he's a target man. He's a big guy. Can Vince do that role? I think he can. I know he's young. Like, he's under 20 for another 2 years. Like, so he's a young guy, but he's a strong guy. He's got pace. He's very direct. He's able to win his own ball. I presume they'll probably play him in the full forward line. And he's able to score. I said he's a goal scorer as well. Cullen is probably, I don't know where Cullen will come into, maybe in the middle of the field or around that area somewhere. So
Darren Shaughnessy is a doubt as well this week and is
yeah, Darren
injured.
is still recovering from that ankle injury. Yeah, he was just unlucky with that. It was just an innocuous thing, but it turned out to be a desperate injury, really. So he's probably touch and go for this game. I don't know whether he's in the mix for it or not. Like, it might come a week or two too early. If he doesn't start, he's another big loss, because Darren is a guy that's probably, he's ready no more than what we, on about young Collins there. Darren Shaughnessy is a guy who, the next manager would want to be looking at and maybe giving game time to in the National League next year and see, can we get him get him up to that level. But he has the potential to play for a Galway senior team, definitely. So if he wasn't to line out, he would obviously be a huge loss as well. But again, whether this game is a week or two too early for him, I suppose we'll see Friday.
How do you see Loughrea and Crowell, Brady?
I fancy Loughrea. I do. I think Crowell will give them enough of it. Crowell have a full team for it.
Yeah, I think they're not too badly off. There's a few injuries there, all right, like by all accounts, but
Wouldn't
yeah,
have escaped like Loughrea, no.
I know. Like, I mean, you're getting the likes of young Conor Gilligan. I think will be thereabouts to start as well. Like, he's a fine player, and we had him there in the minor last year. He's tall, he's athletic, he's able to score. And I think young Kevin Quirk's young lad there, Oshin is a fine player as well. He's only 20. He struggled with injury last year, but they have a couple of good young lads like that now coming into the forward line. So I'd expect them. They ended up in relegation last year, didn't they, against Kilkenny in a relegation semi-final. So for Crowell, they'd be very disappointed if they didn't get to the knockout stages this year. Like, so again, these first games, if you're looking at it, you'd have to say Loughrea are favourites. But I would, in fairness, if our lads turn up, like Tom Anahan, I've seen him training now and playing, and he's flying it. Like, so if the likes of him can hit form and a few lads can help him out, they should hopefully be a close enough game, and the lads will be thereabouts.
So you're tipping Loughrea in that one, are you, Brady?
Yeah, I will. I'll tip Loughrea in it, but just asking Fergal there about had they any injuries. If they don't have injuries, he said it there about even Tom Mann and a couple of young lads coming through. Crowell always have this, down through the years playing them. They always seem to bring one or two guys through without anybody knowing. And they slot in lovely and they work the system of hurling. Like, Crowell are probably like Clare and Bridge. They're one of the nicest hurling teams going, move ball well. Well able to hurl, love the dry ball. But, if they were playing anybody else, they're Loughrea, because Loughrea are, they're hard dogs. They always were. I just feel Loughrea have a point to prove this year, especially after, their exit in the quarterfinals last year. So I do fancy Loughrea. I think if they can get everybody back this year, no more than Clare and Bridge, they'll be eyeing the county title.
Yeah, they have a lot of strong players there. Even, I know they have a few lads injured, but you're looking at the three Killians there, Cayman, Tiernan, and Cullen. Like, the two Hanrahans are lovely players. Like, Johnny Cohen is still, he'd probably be, I'd imagine, full back. Like, you won't see anyone taking Johnny for much either. Like, still, like, he's probably one of the fittest players that's playing club hurling at the moment. So, the couple of the Kearys there, they're very good. Joe Mooney, like they have a lot of players, so Yeah, look, it'll be a tough ask for our lads. Again, look at Shane Morgan is another lad who's probably going to play centre back like was on the Galway senior. So, even with what they're missing, they still have a very strong outfit. Like, and they're throwing in a couple of really top class young fellas as well into that. Like, so yeah, look at it's a big ask for our lads. Again, as Kevin said, our lads now need to be able to mix it with these guys. They'll have the hurling, no doubt about it, but they'll need to be able to deal with the physicality of it. Like, so yeah, look, that'll tell a lot. Like, and I suppose whoever can come out of that game is whoever works the hardest, whoever's the most composed, and whoever has the mind for it. Like, because again, for these first games, there's no form for any team going into it, but it's where your head is at. Like, will count for a lot.
Crowell was the famous game, Brady. You put the Vaseline on your hands, was it?
I was in corner back on Niley, yeah. And I had the clear gloves. I stopped with some crack. He looked over. What do you have to do in my hands, Brady? Oh, years ago. Used to have every trick in the book. But just on that, they're like I remember John Hard or not John McIntyre saying to us, we played Crowell in one of the last years. I was up with Castlegare and I don't know did we win it or not. I can't remember to be honest with you, but he just gave a speech in the dressing room on the Thursday night or on the Friday night before the game, and he says, above any club in the counties, you're dealing with two of the best club hurlers and most committed hurlers in Fergal and Niall Healy, and that's the respect he had for not just the Healys, but for the club of Crowell itself. And I think everyone was in the same boat. Like, there were such good natural hurlers up there. They always came through with underage and all of this kind of stuff. And I don't think they'll fear Loughrea one bit, but I think Loughrea would be mad to get a scalp at them on Sunday or on Saturday. But I would fancy Loughrea, to be honest with you, Shocks.
So in Group 2 then, just for first, second and third, I'm going to go with Clanbridge first, Loughrea second and Crowell third. How do you see it, Fergal?
Yeah, that's the way I see it as well. I think Clarenbridge will be the team that's probably going to be closest if they can avoid injuries to their key players. I think they'll be the team that are best probably equipped to have a rattle of Thomas's this year. So yeah, I don't see them. I see them going a long way in this. Yeah, I think that would be right. You're 1, 2, and 3 there. Yeah.
Do you see it the same, Brady, or do you see something
Yeah.
different there? Yeah.
Like it's spot on as it is, yeah.
So Group 3 then, we'll start with Thomas's and Clymere. That's on the 10th in Kenny Park at 6:30. Thomas is coming up there against Clymere. The big question, and it's going to be the one to start this group. Brady, can Thomas's be stopped this year?
No. Like last year, I tipped Loughrea, and I suppose it was out of. I genuinely thought they'd go very close, and I suppose as a neutral, everybody likes to see the new guard coming in. I suppose look at Armagh and Clare this year. It's good for sport, but if you're realistic about it, for a club like Thomas's to go on and win an All Ireland last year, I think it'll be detrimental for them not to go on and win a club championship the year after. I don't think we're that good in Galway that we can topple the All Ireland champions. We could topple a county champion, but not an All Ireland champion. And I think with Galway being knocked out so early this year, brought their group back together early. The management team were able to get everybody back and get injuries tidied up and get weddings out of the way and all this kind of stuff. And listen, I can't see anybody toppling Thomas. I really can't. Clarenbridge, Turlock, your power rank is like you had them there, Shocks. I think you're spot on. They'll all be fighting for second spot unless something drastic happens. But I can't see it. I genuinely can't. All Ireland champions, they're nailed on for a county championship.
The famous one is this year, Fergal. If Thomas is there to win the county title, they break Peter Wells' record.
Would you believe my grandfather won a county championship with Peter as well back in the day? I actually have it here at the house. I actually have it in the cabinet behind me as it happens. But yeah, that's how close we are to the border there as such. But yeah, I'd agree with Kevin. I don't think anyone will beat St. Thomas's, and I think getting Kinleth back over them again was probably a big coup for them as well. Like in that, he was probably at a stage where he was after taking the minors, he's after winning the Club All Ireland. How much better can it get for him? And to keep him involved, he's got a young family as well. So for him to stay, for them to get him to stay involved, I think is important as well. But they have, yeah, they still have just too many strong players all around the field. The likes of Conor Cooney now has had a break. He's gone off to America. He's probably doing no harm. A few months out there playing away and having a bit of crack and relaxing. And like he's been unstoppable for the last 10 years at Club Hurling in Galway. Like so, all them lads are going to be champing at the bit. Like that's just their nature. They're ferociously dedicated and very ambitious, and I'm sure they'll want to go and add another one to their list of honours as it is.
We were laughing there, Fergal. For Clymer Daly, in one sense, I would say they were nearly hoping that this game would have been on last weekend. In one sense, given all Thomas had it on last weekend.
They still won
it. Like now saying that, like James Regan is out, isn't he? His suspension is carried on from the All Ireland final.
Oh yeah.
So, and they have a couple of niggly injuries, so they're not going to be at full strength. But
is it the right time to play them in the group if you're going to play them?
It's anytime when you're playing a big team, it's if you can get them early enough. But the only thing is, these first games, as I keep saying it, like they're a bit of a lottery because no team has any form going into it. I don't know. Is there any really good time to play Thomas's? I think they're at a stage now where that game will probably be close enough, and Thomas's will probably close it out in the last 8 or 9 minutes. They're able to do that. Like they're just so strong, with Fintan there at 3, Shane at 6, Davey will be there with someone there with him in the middle of the field. You'll have Aina then and Dara and the rest of them up front, like Conor Cooney. Like they're just so strong. Like it's you can keep an eye, put the shackles on one lad, but you'll have 2 or 3 other lads then that'll kill you. Like so, I think they're like the Limerick team at the moment. Their age profile is still good enough for them to come out on top, definitely for another year or two. Yeah.
I think we're all going with Thomas's to win that one at the weekend, just with all they've achieved. The other game is a day earlier in Kilbacon at 7:15 on Friday the 9th. Gort and Tommy Larkins. It's a real 50-50 one, Brady.
It is, yeah. And I like Tommy Larkins as well. They're teeth tough, I was listening to Fergal there earlier on about them, and he would have up the power rankings as well a bit, and I probably would as well. I go along with that. But I like Gort. Talked to Lal there a few weeks ago, and they're happy enough how they're going in Gort at the moment, and they're not like Gort slipped in a few years ago and won a county title, and went back a bit, and like they've had a good few retirements, but they've had a lot of young fellas coming through again. Who's over them in Gort this year?
It's David Hooban again.
Oh, Davy's there again, yeah. Like they have great respect for Davy, they had last year, and I'd fancy Gort in this one. I would. Where's that match on, Shocks?
That's in Kilbacon on Friday evening.
Kilbacon, yeah. Could be a draw. Could go either way. It will be a tough one. There'll be nothing between any of these teams. I'd go for a draw on that one.
How do you see it, Fergal?
I'd expect Tommy Larkins just to have a little bit too much. I think Gort they have a lot of young players, and I suppose Aidan Hart is gone now. This is his second season gone, I think, isn't it? And they still probably have Richie and a few more lads around the place. The Lallys, obviously, serious Gort fellas, club mill. And David Hooban, really good manager, is getting great experience there. He's over in UAG, Freshers there as well, good guy. I just think Tommy Larkins they have a really good spine of their team there with McHugo and Jason and lads like that around the place. Conor Gardner. I think they might have just a little bit too much for Gort, but it's a close game. But I'd tip Tommy Larkins for that one.
Yeah, I'm similar to you there, Brady. I think it's going to be a draw too between those. I don't think there's much to separate them. Just then again in Group 3 for your first, second, and third. I'll obviously start it. So I think Thomas is first. I think Gort second, and then I think Tommy Larkins will just get third. How do you see it, Brady?
Yeah, I go along with that. Could be a flick of a coin between Tommy Larkins and Gart. Could be reversed, but I go along with that. If we get good weather the weekend, I think it's going to suit Gart. Um, Tommy Larkins can play it either way, but I go along with your ranking there. Yeah,
How do you see it, Fergal?
Yeah, like Clymerdaley beat Clare Bridge last year, didn't they?
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
well beaten then to earn more.
yeah, like Clymerdaley are a team like if the likes of Concannon and Jack Fitzpatrick and these guys hit form, Paul Craven, Adam Brett, and Brian Burke, like they still have a lot of good hurlers, like I don't know what I'd be saying. It's a foregone conclusion with Gort and Clymerdaley. I'd probably go with Thomas's, Larkins. Um, it'd be, I don't know. I think it'd be close enough between Clymerdaley and Gort for the third place in that group.
Just then, finally, on Group 4 in the Senior Championship. So this group comprises Warmore, Mary, Castlegar, Sarsfields, and Ardrahan. Safe to say, Brady, this is the group of death this year in the Senior Championship.
yeah, pretty much the same as last year, really, isn't it? Barrow or more. I actually think Cashel could come out of this group this year. I actually think they could top it.
Yeah, you've changed your tune to this time last year.
Yeah, different management, different approach, um, different attitude within the group, and that's not trying to make up for last year what I said because I stood over what I did and gladly said it. They were mentally soft up there, and they took a bit of dislike into it, and that's fine. I felt it that way as well when I was playing. I've often said it in the dressing room, and I don't say them things, to be controversial. I just say them the way they were. But this year with Matty coming in, he's not saying a lot from what I know. Joe O'Leary, good coach. The guys have great respect for him. He's driving them on. Like they played a challenge match 2 weeks ago against the Leash champions, and um, Farrer was gone away for 2 weeks, and he came back a day early. Left his wife and child over there and had to follow him back for the challenge match. And like he was down at my house day after, and I said, "Why did you come back for a challenge?" He said, "Just to show a bit of leadership to the young fellas. Like that's what you're dealing with." Gerard probably would have done it all of his career, but at the age he is at 41 to still do it um, was phenomenal, really. And like them guys, there was no mention. There's a drinking ban for the races, which would have always have occurred in Castlegar. It's a big city thing. Oh, no drinking. Of course, they're going to go out and enjoy themselves. They're young men. Why not? I think they were allowed to have their few drinks this year. I think everybody is happy enough from after the races. They trained. Did a good league. Did a very good league. They're hurling very well at the moment now. From what I'm hearing, the guys are very happy. They're very, very fit. There seems to be a small bit of steel between their teeth. Um, they have an old score to settle with Sarsfield later on in the year. It'll be a local derby with themselves and Oranmore, but I think Cashel will have way too much, to be honest with you, for Oranmore. I think Cashel will win out this game 6, 7, 8 points. And Oranmore are coming. Oranmore. I can't see them improving much more than what they are. You take Niall Burke out of it and you take Garroge out of it, like Gerald being centre forward, and you'll have GMAC in it, number 6. Does he follow Gerald, who will go back in the 45, and move ball inside to the boys inside and young Thomas and these guys? But I just think Cash will have way too much for them. I think they have a statement now to make on this weekend. They really do. And I genuinely think with the new management, they're ready to make it.
There's a bit of a rivalry there between Oranmore and Cashel too, Fergal.
Yeah, I suppose when geographically they're so close together. Yeah, I think it could be a close enough game. Like I'd agree with Kevin in that I think Castlegar might have a little bit too much. They should have, and I think, but you still have Farrer there. He's definitely hugely admired and looked up to by not only everyone in Castlegar but anyone that playing hurling in the county. Like to still be going at it. Like fair play to him. Like he has a young family and stuff as well, but he's their main guy, you know. And if you're giving Farrer 10 or 12 opportunities to stand over ball and put over the bar, he'll kill you. Like so, I suppose they need to be really, I suppose, disciplined in what they do, because he'll punish you from line balls and frees probably much more than most other teams will. Like maybe bar Conor Cooney, he's of that level of a free taker. So they have a lot of good players. Castlegar, they're probably very balanced as well. I think Gordon Moore are probably beginning to come a little bit. They're probably going to lack that bit of experience though in their corner back, corner forward positions. So that's where they're going to have a lot of their younger guys down the wings. You know, they obviously have Garage Mack and Niall Burke. Rory will probably be there, maybe centre forward or midfield or something as well. But yeah, I'd be kind of probably leaning towards Castlegar. Look at Matty Murphy's. He's an experienced manager, and he'll demand respect there, and he'll, you know, if there was any disciplinary issues there at any stage, you know, Matty wouldn't tolerate that. Like so, he definitely put a bit of smock into any team he's involved with. Joe O'Leary's there with him as well. He's a good coach as well, by all accounts. So yeah, look, it should be a cracking game now. I don't think Cashel will walk away with it or anything, but I would fancy them probably to get over the line against them.
Yeah, I think Ormore might just edge that for me. I think with the talent they have coming through, so I'm gonna go with Ormore in that one. Just the other game then, Sarsfields and Ardran, it's at the same time in Kenny Park. With this one, Brady, Ardran, it's suspected that Johnny Glynn still has this shoulder injury. Iarla Tanyan's a doubt. Then with Sarsfields, Darren Marcy's picked up a shoulder injury out in the States. He'll be another big loss, but maybe Ardran's losses are more significant than Sarsfield's this weekend.
Yeah, and I think if there was no injuries on either side, you'd have to fancy Sarsfields. Um, and when you take the like Tanyan and Johnny Glynn out of any team, I know they've moved on in ages now and stuff like that. But even just their leadership around, you put Tan at full forward and Johnny Glynn maybe at centre forward in any club team. But when they're taken out of an Ardrahan team, that would be in the top five, holding their own. Like it's a huge loss to them. Sarsfields could have caught Thomas's last year. They were the only team, when Joseph Cooley went up, and only with the save by the Thomas's goalie, they had them. Sarsfields, I think, have a point to prove this year. They pushed on in the league as well. I know Clare and Bridge won it all right, but they wanted to get as fair as they could in it without looking for outside games. I just feel, Sarsfields. I think it'll be Sarsfields and Cashel this weekend.
Yeah, Sarsfields are probably building something too, Fergal. Safe to say, even getting to a league final, pushing Clarenbridge so far, considering you don't have Ian Fox, Darren Marcy, or Alex Kinnear.
Yeah, they've a good squad as well, but like I think Joseph Cooney is out as well. Darren Marcy
Yeah,
is out. Darren Murphy is out. Paddy McCarthy is a doubt. Alex Cunyer is a doubt. So again, if Sarsfields were to be missing those 5 or 6 players, even with Ardrahan missing the two lads, you'd have to say you'd never know, like, but you'd still be looking at Sarsfield's overall quality, like what they can replace. I suppose the guys that are missing for them, they have a lot of options. They have a nice under-20 team there at the moment as well, so they have some good young players. So yeah, I think if they all had the full deck, it could be you'd probably be leaning towards Sarsfields. I think it could be a little bit closer. Like last year, if Ardran had Johnny for the Clare Bridge game, they possibly could have bet them, and could have ended up in a semi final quite easily. So they're not 100 miles off it either. But saying that, like, Johnny and Iarla were massive players physically, and from a scoring point of view, there for them, centre forward, full forward, or put the two of them on the edge of the square. And I don't know if he's playing corner forward. I think for them he was sub goalie for us in the 20s this year, and he's been playing very well. So yeah, look at probably go with Sarsfields for it, yeah.
yeah, top three there. I'm going to go with Sarsfields, Cashel, and Ormore Mary. Is that how you see it?
I go along with that, Shocks. I would actually change. I go Cashel, Sarsfield. That's the only two I change up top. I just feel Cashel are very good at it this year.
How do you see it, Fergal?
Yeah, I think it would depend. I think Sarsfield probably have too much further around this weekend, but if they could get Johnny back for some of their games, I think they could cause a bit of trouble for Oranmore, you know. But yeah, it's when you're looking at it with all the players available to Castlegar, Sarsfields, Oranmore at the moment, you'd probably be expecting them to finish 1, 2, and 3.
Just here then, we have the Senior B rankings. Lee Mellows first, Athenry second, Portumna third, Haskell fourth, Kilnadima Leitrim fifth, Port Pierce sixth, Ballinderry seventh, and Beha eighth. Am I in the wrong here now? Anywhere?
Bit harsh
I,
on Kennedy
I'd
and
have
Leach.
Ballinderry up a bit.
It's supposed to be up a little bit more.
Kilnadima and Ballinderreen, you feel they're not where they should be?
No, I'd have Ballinderry up a bit. I seen them last year winning the intermediate, and it's not an easy competition to win. I'd have Ballinderry up there. I'd have them up maybe 3 or 4, to be honest with you. They'll push. They won't win the Senior B this year, but they'll be right up there. I think Mellows will win it.
Yeah. Just back then to the Senior B games there. So in Group 1, I'll come to you for the first game, Fergal, and then I'll come to Kevin for the second game. Pierce's and Ballinderreen. As Kevin mentioned there, Ballinderreen very strong. Sir Donlan back involved with Pierce's this year as well. It's going to be interesting, but still hard to know. Ballinderreen obviously making a jump from intermediate to Senior B, and Clymer did show last year that it was a bit of a jump, and Pierce's where they were good at stages last year, but there was stages as well where they did struggle.
Yeah, they're kind of like a solid Senior B team, aren't they? Like where they seem to grind out a couple of results here and there. Ballinderreen, probably you wouldn't have expected them to go down to intermediate when they did either. And yeah, looking at the two teams with the likes of Kevin and Roy Lane, I don't know, is Robbie still playing with them or not? But if they have those guys and a few good young lads there, young O'Connor and lads like that, David Mannion, Stephen Mannion, yeah, I'd probably be edging towards Ballinderreen for that one.
The other game in that group at 5:30 in Kilbegate on Saturday as well. Kilnadima Leitrim and Beha. How do you see that one going, Brady?
Yeah, you'd fancy Kilnadina Leitrim in that one. You know, there have a lot of good young players coming through. But listen, right off at your bird, they're the masters of grinding out results, aren't they? But I just feel with the last 2 to 3 years, they're slipping and slipping bit by bit. Talking to Aidan Divney there a few weeks ago in town, and you know, he says they have a strong 14, 13, 15, but you know, they struggled for the 16, 17, 18 guys after that. Kilnadeem would have a big pick. They'd have a good few guys in the minor, in the under 20s, and with development panels and stuff like that. So, you know, Beha are on the way down, but no one would like to meet them. But I would fancy Leitrim in that one.
Yeah, I'd agree with you in that one. I'm actually going to go with Kilnadima, and I think I'll get over the line against Ballinderreen this weekend. Just for the three again in that group, probably see it as Kilnadima first, Pierce second, and Ballinderreen third. How do you see it there, Brady? After the three teams to come out?
Yeah, I go Ballinderreen second. Though I think they'd beat. I think they beat Pearson. I think Ballinderreen are a very, very good team. I was very impressed with them last year. You know, I've seen them in 3 of their games, and like that, they have nothing to lose. They have everything to prove. Like Fergal said there, they're a battle hardened. They're a good, solid senior B team. I think Ballinderreen have great tradition. I was glad to see them going down because, to be quite honest, they were getting hockey and they probably didn't deserve it. And it was You know, how did they react when they went down? You know, they got a good management team in place. They pulled everyone together, and they stuck at it, and they came back up. Now they're on the crest of a wave. Can they come out of Senior B? I think they'll. I don't think they'll top the group, but I do think they'll come second there.
Do you see this Dusty as well, Fergal?
Yeah, I'd go with that. Kinnadima, Leitrim, Ballandurian, Pierces, and Baha. Yeah.
Just with that, when we're looking at Group 2, Athenry, Mellows, Ahaskra, and Portumna, is it just safe to say here, Fergal, that Group 2 is stronger than Group 1?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, look at it. Definitely. Like you've probably got you're probably expecting Athenry and Mellows to be in the mix, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
To go up. And David Collins has gone back over Mellows, and they seem to be, happy and going well. They have a good team. They still have a lot of good hurlers there. John Hardiman obviously gone back with Athenry. It's probably a huge lift for them in that regard, and they have a lot of young players that they are trying to keep, bringing through. So you definitely fancy them. Look at while Joe is still playing with Portumna, they're always going to be dangerous and going to be a handful, and no more than Farrer getting scores. You can't afford to be giving frees away anywhere or line balls or anything like that. And then obviously you've Cathal Pádraig hurling for Haskell Fohana, and if the two of them were allowed to hurl, they could take down any team on a given day. So, yeah, to be fair, it's probably a good bit tougher than the other group. Yeah.
Is Ahaskra the team you see missing out there?
Jesus, I suppose a lot comes down to Haskell and Portumna's game now the next evening, and how that goes. Like Portumna, a good few good young lads now. Like is Declan McLaughlin out?
Yeah, it seems to be. Yeah.
If Declan McLaughlin is injured, well then there's a lot. Adam Fogarty's a good hurler there, but you're still hugely heavily reliant probably on Joe to get you over the line. And Haskell have the two Manions, which are operating at a fairly high level. So yeah, if Declan McLaughlin isn't playing, you'd possibly be leaning towards Haskell maybe to get over the line there.
How do you see them games in Group 2, Brady?
I'd fancy Mellows to win the Senior B this year. I do. Talked to John Lee there a few months ago, and shouldn't say it, but he says we'll win it. He's involved with Davy Collins there, and they were always a team. They were unlucky last year. The Athenry aspect of it, on a loan with Hardy being back, I think is a huge, huge positive.
They're the only Senior B team that played Division 1 league.
Yeah, that's true. Hardy, like, people don't realise it, what he brings to a dressing room, the respect he has for players, the man management that he does. It's second to none. It really and truly is. Fergal would know him as well, and he'd be a legend in around Athenry, and still a very young man. He would have taught a lot of them guys in his college as well, or in the school, and he would have brought a lot of them through in the 16 and minor as well. But on the other side, I think Ahaskra beat Portumna. I think Ahaskra were very unlucky last year against Mulla in a cracking game. Only for Mulla got a goal there in the last minute, but I think Portumna are on the way down. They have a couple of injuries, still heavier reliant on Joe. And you have the two Manions there, and they're a real dogged team. A lot of them guys played the double as well with Calston in the football, so they're extremely fit. Haskell Fohana are a good outfit. I think the slogan of Portumna, the fear factor has gone out of them for a good while now. But like that again, as Fergal said, if you let Joe shoot from anywhere, whether put him centre forward or centre back, he's going to score. I don't think they put Pádraig on him. I think they leave Pádraig free and Cahill free. I don't think a county player would mark a county player. You'd always try and get the best out of them, not marking each other, if that makes sense. But that's the way I put it. I put Mellows, Athenry, and Ahaskra Fohana. That'd be mine.
Mellows, Athenry, and Haskell Fohana. Yeah, I'd probably see it as Mellows, Athenry, and Portumna, but That's a toss of a coin. Just before we do finish now, we have the intermediate power rankings here. Tina Aberdeenary first, Clymer second, Mila Gaircourt third, Ceylon fourth, Cairnmore fifth, Kinvara sixth, Abbeynackmoy seventh, Rahu Newcastle eighth, Ballygare ninth, Scanamont Ballymaloe 10th, Clarenbridge 11th, Annadown 12th, Kiltormer 13th, Kilbegety 14th, Crowell 15th, and Turlockmore 16th. How do you see these rankings?
I'd have Turlock up there a good bit. They went all right in the intermediate league. They gave Ceylon a good clipping. Ceylon, I know that
Yeah,
Smith.
the only reason now I have them at the bottom is just of they were in the intermediate relegation final last year.
Okay, okay. Um, it's hard to know, really, Shocks. I'd have Rahow Newcastle up a bit. I'd have them ahead. I'd be not quite, to be honest with you. They were very unlucky last year. Ballygare are coming now. There's a good bit of work being done in Ballygare at the moment. Tina Aberdeenary, is Matty Kenny involved with them again this year?
Yeah, Matty Kenny and Liam Hodgins again. Yep.
I think they feel they left it behind them last year. I don't think they did. I just think they were beaten by a better team in Ballinderry. I followed the intermediate last year because of Ceylon going so well and my loyalty to them. But I think Ceylon will be thereabouts. I really do. Joe Heshnan's involved with them this year. Hadn't a great league, to be honest with you, but that's fine. I know Keelan Craven is still out, and I don't know will he be back for the season, but they have a lot of good young fellas coming through. I don't think they'll win the intermediate this year, but they will be thereabouts. Kinvara will be hard beaten, but it's Teen Aberdeen Irish to win again. Now, in saying that, Shocks, we were on the podcast as well last year, and I think it was Lallers, Sir Farrell, and myself and yourself, and we couldn't see Aberdeen Irish being beaten in the intermediate, but it's a very, very tough competition. If you win your intermediate, you're right up in the middle of Senior B, and you're good enough to compete at Senior B. So that's why I give Mulla a good shout this year, or not Mulla, Ballinderry, a really good shout up in senior. So I think you have the rankings fairly right. Yeah, I would have Turlock up a bit, and I'd have Rahow Newcastle up past Cairnmore, to be honest with you. But
How do you see them, Fergal?
Yeah, I think your top eight are fairly on the money. Like I think, like I seen Karen Moore playing Tina last year. It was the quarterfinal or semi-final. I don't know which game it was. It was up in Kilbegety, and like there was only a puck of a ball. Johnny Conroy got a point to win it for Janari, and Karen Moore were the better team for most of that. So I suppose, just what Kevin was saying there was probably signs on with Janari that they weren't really, going at full tilt, or wasn't really happening for them, and then they got caught out eventually by Ballinderry. But I think Karen Moore have a good side. Decky Walsh is over. I think he's still over them. He was over them last year. Brilliant clubman as well. Would bring huge energy and work rate to them. And again, they've a few nice young players there, like Niall Feeney coming into the group. So I think Karen Moore won't be 100 miles off it. And again, the likes of Turlock, Crowell, Clarenbridge, look, it'll come down to how their senior teams get on at the weekend and whether they have to use a couple of players in that regard. So it's very hard to really say where the likes of those three teams will be, because they won't know their team until the senior teams have played. Unfortunately, the way it works out, it'll be interesting to see Scahan and Montbellew how they get on after coming up from Junior A. They were knocking on the door for a good few years. There was never much between them in it, or any team that did come out of the Junior A. So, like Ballygare just got over the line against them 2 years ago in a final. Skahana have some really good players. Oisin Lohan was brilliant for us this year with the 20s. You'd expect him to really, be a leader for them. Michael Burke is a good young lad. He'd be playing for them now. Dean Cunningham is another very good young fella. So they're adding, a couple of players from when they won the Junior A last year. So, it'd be interesting to see how they get on. But I think your top 8 players, they'll all be there. They'll all be in the mix. They'll all fancy their chances, won't they?
Are you happy with Crowell there?
Look, I think that's where we finished last year. So, you can't, you said, depending on whether the seniors pick up any injuries or who they start, on Friday evening, that there's been guys playing with our intermediates. We played around there a few weeks ago. We had a draw with them, which was, we have a nice team there at intermediate, and it's good for the younger lads. It's a good standard for the younger lads to be trying to, at times over the last few years, we've got some clippings, like we played Air Court there, I think twice in the last 2 years, Jesus, and they hammered us, but they're very strong. Like you'll find sometimes that the senior club second team will maybe struggle against the stronger intermediate teams, especially if they were to, as the championship goes on, and you lose players, but look, it's an accurate assumption to make at the moment, anyway.
Brady, I'm just going to come to you for Group 1 and then Fergal to Group 2, just because we're running out of time, unfortunately, with all the action, and it's been hard to get through it all. So just, Brady, 2 games in the intermediate Group 1 this weekend. We have Abbeynockmoy, Clarenbridge, and Kilbeganty, and Tina Aberdeenary. How do you see them games going this weekend?
Tina Aberdeenary, can't see them being beat, to be honest with you. And Abbeynockmoy and who?
Abbeynockmoy, and that'd be Clarenbridge's second team.
Yeah, you'd have to fancy Abbeynockmoy. Flaherty and a few of the lads are going quite well there. Listen, Abbeynockmoy would hold their own against any intermediate team on a good day, but when they're poor, they're poor. It's just a bit of consistency with Abbeynockmoy. They're a very physical, big team. They're well able to hurl. I don't know, is it a belief in them or what is it? I know football has gone massive out in Monavea as well, and they've rugby. They've a lot of they're a serious community. Like they have a lot of stuff going on there between the box and the football, the hurling. They have a lot of lads crossing over as well, but I think Abbeynock might be too strong for them as well.
Group 2 then, Fergal. Kinvara coming up against Clymer and Turlockmore, Kiltormer. How do you see them games going at the weekend?
You'd expect Clymer, if they can. I suppose they had a lot of injuries, hadn't they, last year?
Yeah, everyone seems to be back fit, is what the word is, anyways, for them.
If they're picking from a fairly strong squad, yeah, they should have too much for Kinvara. Kinvara are probably still a bit reliant on Conor Whelan, but Kinvara are doing a lot of good stuff at underage, so they're beginning to get a few young lads through each year as well. So, but I think, yeah, Clymer probably have a little bit too much for Kinvara. Who was the other game?
Just Turlockmore then and Kiltormer, probably a hard one to call.
Yeah, like for the earlier game, like Turlock are playing Mulla tomorrow evening. The way I'd look at that is, if Turlock are going to win that game by 5 or 6 points, or they're probably not going to delve into their bench too much, which would leave their second team probably strong enough. So, yeah, I'd be going with Turlock to beat Kiltormer in that.
Group 3 then, Brady, the first game there, 11 o'clock Sunday morning. Some people mightn't agree with the time, but for a lot of Annadown and Ceylon people, it'll be one to get excited for. Third time in 4 years they play each other in the first round again. Well, you're not going back against Ceylon anyways in this one, I presume.
No, where's that game on, Sharks?
That's Pierce Stadium. It was originally fixed for Tuam, but it's been moved now to Pierce on Sunday morning.
Not in Tuam. I think it'll suit Ceylon. They haven't been going great in the league, like I said, but they have a point to prove this year. The biggest thing with Ceylon is that I've noticed last year was their discipline in the tackle, and it cost them absolutely dearly against Ballinderreen. I don't think they were good enough to go on and win the county title, but they shouldn't have got the clipping that they did in Loughrea in the semi-final. Like, they gave away 6 frees one after another. I was right opposite them, where they got ball and they were moving it left, right, rather than hitting a full forward line. And, ball that silly, stupid inexperience at intermediate level. As Fergal knows, like at senior level, you get a ball and you move it, it's gone. They were trying to play a style of Limerick hurling, which most teams are trying to do now, but at intermediate, your standard is not as high as senior A. There's a huge difference. So basically, to put it in a nutshell, I think Ceylon will beat them. I think they'll beat Annadown. Annadown have no fear.
Annadown's big thing is Damien Comer doesn't look like he's available. Jeremy Commons doesn't look like he's well, he hasn't played with them yet this year, so that's
Yeah,
another big blow.
yeah, and there's talks of, you know, rumors about a transfer, and I've heard about Kilcommons and different stuff like that. Listen, you always see that kind of stuff going on. Um, I don't think Damien Cormer will ever hurl again. That's my honest opinion. Now, he's such a great club man and everything that he does, and he's just a gentleman, Damien. He give everything to the cause. He hasn't been fit all year football. I think Damien needs a break away from everything. Hurling football, just get away. No more than Conor Cooney. Just get away for a while and get his body right and come back and be the man he is. But I think Ceylon will have way too much for them. I really do. And I think it's a big one for Joe Ashen. People were saying, oh, you were involved with a Turlough team and you were involved with a development county team. Why you gone down with an intermediate team, and he was down in Ballyea as well. But like, Ceylon are a good team. Ceylon has a lot of good work going on down there behind the scenes, and my own young fellas involved with the under sixes there now. And like, I only went back to Ceylon this year. I didn't go down near the club at all last year. Just went to their matches, stayed away, because you get roped into something. And the amount of kids that are there on a Friday evening, Shocks, is a credit to the club. It really and truly is. It's we never had it growing up. We didn't do too bad for ourselves, but the club was really going in the right direction. So, proud to see the lads going so well. I just hope they can push on this year. If they don't improve on the semi-final, it means they've gone back. I don't think they'll. It's a great start for them to get Anna down, and you're an Anna down man, so you won't like to hear that.
No, definitely not. And are you tipping Carramore to beat Crowell in the other game in that group?
Yeah, Carnmore. I think it'll be Ceylon and Carnmore coming out of that.
Just group 4 then. Fergal, Míle Aircourt and Scahanna Montbellew. It's Scahanna Montbellew probably couldn't have got a tougher start to intermediate hurling than Míle Aircourt, really.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like we played Aircourt last year in the first round, and we stayed with them for about 45, 50 minutes, and they got in for a couple of goals at the end and bet us by 8 or 9 points, if not more. I think for Montbellew or Scan Montbellew, they'll try and stay in that game as long as they can. Again, I think they have a good few young lads, but like Aircourt, they're going to be in the mix, aren't they? The Flemings and Nathan Erner, and they have a lot of good hurlers around the field. I think it'll be a big ask for the Scahan Montbellew lads, but you'd have to go with Aircourt for that.
And Rahoon and Ballygare then in the other game?
Rahoon and who did you say?
Rahoon and Ballygare. It's probably a toss of a coin there now, in fairness.
I'd be still kind of Rahoon are still a decent intermediate outfit as well. That they're never too far away from it. They just seem to, they can get to quarterfinal, semi-final. I don't think they just haven't got to a final and been able to make that step up. But I think they'd still have probably a little bit too much for Ballygare. I think Ballygare, they'd get Harry Holmes and Colin Maloney in there for next year, and they'd be two really good players for them. And they're doing a lot of good work underage again, and it's great to see them competing and the likes of them and Montbellew getting up to intermediate. I'd be leaning towards Round for that game as well.
Yeah, so they are all the predictions we've gave for the games across the senior B and intermediate. A bumper weekend ahead, and we've predicted all the games, and I'm sure one or two predictions might come back to bite us, and my power rankings will as too, I'm sure. But that is all we do have time for on tonight's show. Thanks to Fergal and Kevin for coming on.
Thanks, Chuck.